Chuck Connors, born Kevin Joseph Aloysius Connors on April 10, 1921, in Brooklyn, New York, lived a life as dramatic as any Western. His parents, Alan and Marcel Connors, were Irish immigrants who worked hard during the Great Depression, his father as a longshoreman and his mother taking on small jobs to support the family. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Chuck spent much of his time at the Bay Ridge Boys Club, where he developed a deep passion for sports, especially baseball, dreaming of one day playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. At 14, his talent caught the attention of scouts, earning him an athletic scholarship to Adelphia Academy, a private high school in Brooklyn. There, he excelled in multiple sports: baseball, basketball, football, and track. By 1939, he was named one of Brooklyn's top high school baseball players. After high school, Chuck had over 25 colleges offering him athletic scholarships, and he chose Seton Hall University in New Jersey, where he played both basketball and baseball. As a backup center on the basketball team, he contributed with his height and defense, but baseball was where he truly shined. In a standout game in 1942, he hit 2 home runs and recorded 6 RBIs, catching the eye of professional scouts. It was during these years that he earned his famous nickname. While playing first base, he would yell, "Chuck it to me," and the name stuck. However, his college years were interrupted by World War II. In 1942, he joined the Army and trained at Fort Knox, where his height and athletic skills led to his selection as a tank warfare instructor. He later worked at West Point, training soldiers and even coaching future football champions. Despite his military service, he remained close to sports, playing semi-professional baseball in Brooklyn and even professional basketball in the American Basketball League. After 3 years in the Army, he was honorably discharged in 1946. After leaving the Army, Chuck joined the Boston Celtics for their first ever season in 1946. Standing 6 feet 5 inches, he played as a forward and center, appearing in 49 games and averaging 4.5 points per game. His best game came on December 13, 1946, when he scored 15 points in a close win against the Providence Steamrollers. However, his basketball career was short-lived. In February 1947, after only a few months with the Celtics, he left to pursue his true dream, baseball. On May 1, 1949, he got his big chance with the Brooklyn Dodgers, but it didn't start well. In his only game for the Dodgers, he hit into a double play, and the team lost. Rather than giving up, he worked hard in the minor leagues, playing for teams like the Montreal Royals. In 1951, he made it back to the majors with the Chicago Cubs. That season, he played 66 games, with notable moments including hitting his first home run against the New York Giants on July 18, 1951, and another on August 26, also against the Giants. By season's end, he had 48 hits and a .239 batting average, not bad for someone balancing 2 sports. Chuck's journey to Hollywood was entirely unexpected. In 1952, while playing for the Los Angeles Angels, a minor league team, he hit a massive home run in a game against the Sacramento Solons. The ball cleared the fence and caught the attention of Billy Gordon, a casting director from MGM, who was in the crowd. Gordon, impressed by Chuck's tall, rugged frame, approached him in the locker room after the game and handed him a card, saying, "You should think about acting." At the time, Chuck didn't take it seriously. His focus was on baseball, and acting seemed far-fetched. However, just a few weeks later, an injury changed everything. Out of curiosity, Chuck Connors decided to visit MGM and see what this acting opportunity was all about. To his surprise, they offered him a screen test immediately. He gave it a shot, and they liked what they saw. Just 3 days later, Chuck signed his first Hollywood contract, a quick decision that changed his life forever. His first role was in the romantic comedy Pat and Mike, starring Hollywood legend Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Though his part was small, playing a police captain, it was a big moment for someone new to acting. On his first day of filming, Chuck was both excited and nervous. He arrived early and spent hours preparing for his scene, which didn't happen until late at night. When the cameras finally rolled, he nailed it in just 2 takes. Spencer Tracy even pulled him aside afterward and told him, "You've got something, stick with it." Those words meant everything to Chuck and gave him the confidence to keep pursuing acting. After that, Chuck dove headfirst into the industry, taking on every role he could find, whether big or small. Between 1952 and 1958, he appeared in over 20 movies. One of his most memorable early roles was in Disney's Old Yeller, 1957, where he played Bern Sanderson. The movie was a massive hit and helped Chuck gain even more recognition. He also appeared in films like Trouble Along the Way with John Wayne and The Big Country, where he starred alongside Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston. Each role helped him grow as an actor and build his reputation in Hollywood. Chuck Connors became famous as Lucas McCain in The Rifleman, but it didn't happen right away. In 1957, after his role as a father in Old Yeller, the producers of The Rifleman saw his performance and thought he was perfect for their show. At first, Chuck declined the role because the pay was lower than what he was earning from other acting jobs. However, the producers were determined to have him and offered more money along with 5% ownership of the show. That convinced him to take the role. Once he was cast, he began intense training to prepare for the part. He practiced horseback riding and learned to spin and shoot a rifle in a way that looked impressive on camera. He worked with gun expert Rod Redwing to master the moves. Chuck practiced so much that his hands became sore and blistered, but he didn't stop until he got it just right. When The Rifleman premiered on September 30, 1958, audiences loved it immediately. Over 14 million viewers tuned in to watch the first episode. Chuck's character, Lucas McCain, was tough yet kind, especially with his son Mark, played by Johnny Crawford. The father-son bond became one of the most beloved aspects of the show. The Rifleman was more than just an action-packed western, it focused on family values, depicting Lucas McCain as a widowed father raising his son alone in the Old West, something uncommon on television at the time. The show often explored the challenges Lucas faced as both a parent and a protector. By the end of its first season, The Rifleman was the fourth highest-rated show on television, reaching 14.6 million households. After The Rifleman ended in 1963, Chuck faced challenges breaking away from his Western hero image. However, he continued working in television and film, proving his versatility. His most powerful performance came in 1977 when he played Tom Moore in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots. The role was a stark contrast to his past characters, as he portrayed a cruel plantation owner. His chilling performance highlighted the brutal realities of slavery without turning his character into a caricature. Roots was a massive success, with its final episode watched by around 100 million viewers. Chuck's performance earned him an Emmy nomination, a rare honor that showcased his ability to take on challenging and controversial roles. Later in his career, Connors appeared in B-movies and TV guest spots. One of his most memorable roles was in the 1979 horror film Tourist Trap, where he played Mr. Slauson, a creepy museum owner surrounded by sinister mannequins. Though the film initially underperformed, it later became a cult classic. Connors also took on unusual roles, such as battling aliens in the low-budget sci-fi movie The Day Time Ended, 1980. On television, he made appearances in popular shows like Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, and Murder, She Wrote. In the horror action series Werewolf, 1987 to 1988, he played the villain Yono Skorzeny, revealing a darker side of his acting abilities. Chuck Connors' personal life was just as dramatic as the characters he portrayed. His first marriage was to Elizabeth Jane Rell, known as Betty, a model from Montreal, Canada. They met in 1948 during one of Chuck's baseball games when he played for the Montreal Royals. Betty came from a wealthy family, and their romance moved quickly. They married on October 1, 1948, when Chuck was 27 and still figuring out his career. Together, they had 4 sons, Michael, Jeffrey, Stephen, and Kevin. At first, their life seemed perfect, but as Chuck's acting career took off, especially after The Rifleman, things began to fall apart. His long absences for filming and rumors of infidelity strained their marriage. In 1961, Betty discovered he was having an affair with an actress on set, which became the breaking point. She filed for divorce, which was finalized in 1962. Although they remained polite in public, it later emerged that Betty had threatened to expose his affairs unless Chuck agreed to her terms during the divorce. The Rifleman premiered on September 30, 1958, and people loved it immediately. over 14 million viewers tuned in to watch the first episode. Chuck Connor's character, Lucas McCain, was tough but also kind, especially with his son Mark, played by Johnny Crawford. The father-son bond became one of the most beloved aspects of The Rifleman. The show wasn't just about action, it focused on family. Lucas McCain was a widowed father raising his son alone in the Old West, something uncommon on TV at the time. The series often explored the challenges Lucas faced as both a father and a protector. The Rifleman became the fourth highest-rated show on television in its first season, reaching 14.6 million households. After The Rifleman ended in 1963, Connors faced challenges breaking away from his Western hero image. However, he continued to work in television and film, proving his versatility. His most powerful performance came in 1977 when he played Tom Moore in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots. Chuck Connor's career was marked by diverse roles and compelling performances. In modern times, he portrayed a cruel plantation owner, a stark contrast to his past roles. His chilling performance highlighted the brutal realities of slavery without turning his character into a caricature. The show was a massive success, with its final episode watched by around 100 million viewers. His role earned him an Emmy nomination, a rare honor that underscored his ability to take on challenging and controversial characters. Later in his career, Connors appeared in B-movies and TV guest spots. One of his most memorable roles was in the 1979 horror film Tourist Trap, where he played Mr. Slauson, a creepy museum owner surrounded by sinister mannequins. Though the film initially underperformed, it later became a cult classic. Connors also took on unusual roles, such as battling aliens in the low-budget sci-fi movie The Day Time Ended, 1980. On television, he appeared in popular shows like Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, and Murder, She Wrote. In the horror action series Werewolf, 1987 to 1988, he played the villain Yono Skorzeny, revealing a darker side of his acting abilities. Connor's personal life was filled with love, heartbreak, and drama, much like the characters he portrayed. His first marriage was to Elizabeth Jane Rell, known as Betty, a model from Montreal, Canada. They met in 1948 during one of Connor's baseball games when he was playing for the Montreal Royals. Betty came from a wealthy family, and their romance moved quickly. They married on October 1, 1948, when Connors was 27 and still figuring out his career. Together, they had 4 sons, Michael, Jeffrey, Stephen, and Kevin. At first, their life seemed perfect, but as Connor's acting career took off, especially after landing The Rifleman in 1958, things began to fall apart. His long absences for filming and rumors of infidelity strained their marriage. In 1961, Betty discovered he was having an affair with an actress on set, which became the breaking point for her. She filed for divorce, finalized in 1962. Although they remained polite in public, it later emerged that Betty had threatened to expose his affairs unless Connors agreed to her terms during the divorce. Connor's second marriage took place in 1963 when he wed Kamala Devi, an actress he met on the set of Geronimo. Kamala, born in Mumbai, India, had a mixed Indian and British heritage, making their marriage stand out in Hollywood, where interracial relationships were still rare. They worked together on many projects, including Branded and Cowboy in Africa, and people admired their strong connection on and off screen. However, their marriage was not always smooth. Kamala wanted Connors to take on more sophisticated roles, but he believed his rugged cowboy image was his greatest strength. Their differing career aspirations caused tension, and Connors' reputation for infidelity further strained the relationship. After 9 years together, they divorced in 1972. Their last film together, The Proud and Damned, felt like a sad reflection of their crumbling marriage. Connor's third marriage was his shortest and most controversial. He met Faith Guabius on the set of Soylent Green in 1973, where she had a small role. Faith was 33 years younger than Connors. They married on September 7, 1977, in a private ceremony in Mexico. Connors, then 56, joked that they had played husband and wife on screen so much that they decided to make it real. However, their marriage only lasted 3 years, and they divorced in 1980. Later, Faith accused Connors of being abusive during their marriage, blaming his drinking for his behavior. Connors denied the allegations, but the claims hurt his public image. Throughout his life, Connors was plagued by rumors of affairs and tumultuous relationships. Even during his first marriage, whispers of infidelity followed him. One woman claimed she had a long-term affair with Connors in the 1960s and alleged that he fathered her child, though this was never proven. On set, Connors' flirtatious nature was well known, and actress Joan Crawford once remarked that he could charm the birds from the trees but couldn't stay loyal. His reputation even cost him professional opportunities, as some actresses refused to work with him. One infamous 1975 incident involved Connors being caught in a compromising situation with a young actress at a party. Though the scandal was hushed up, it reportedly cost him a major film role. His children from his first marriage spoke about how his lifestyle put a strain on their family. Jeffrey Connors later shared that his father always chased thrills, which affected everyone around him. Despite the controversies, Connors rarely addressed the rumors. Near the end of his life, he reflected, "I've lived my life on my own terms. Some might not approve, but I have no regrets." Connors' strong political views made him stand out in Hollywood. In 1967, when many in the industry opposed the Vietnam War, Connors joined a pro-war parade in New York City. Some praised him, while others criticized him. He was an active supporter of Republican candidates, especially Barry Goldwater during the 1964 presidential election, which hurt his career. However, Connors remained steadfast in his beliefs, saying, "I'd rather lose a job than give up my principles." In 1972, he was even asked to run for Congress but chose to stick with acting. The Vietnam War caused heated debates in Hollywood, but Connors never wavered in his support. He believed the war was necessary to fight communism and openly expressed this belief. In 1967, he marched in support of U.S. troops, stating, "We're fighting communism over there so we don't have to fight it here." This stance alienated him from many in Hollywood, and he even clashed with co-stars over it. While filming Soylent Green, he had a heated debate with Charlton Heston about the war. Connors also backed his words with actions, visiting Vietnam multiple times between 1968 and 1972. After the war, he was disheartened by how veterans were treated, saying, "They deserved parades, not protests." One of the most surprising aspects of Connors' career was his popularity in the Soviet Union during the Cold War. The Rifleman became one of the few American shows allowed on Soviet television. By 1973, around 250 million Soviets were watching the show, and even Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev was a fan. During his visit to Washington, D.C., in 1973, Brezhnev requested to meet Connors. Their meeting led to an extraordinary event. Brezhnev invited Connors to Moscow, where he stayed for 2 weeks receiving star treatment. Connors met Brezhnev at the Kremlin, and the two even had a playful gun-shooting contest with firearms Connors had gifted him. During the visit, Connors filmed a documentary titled Peace and Friendship, which aired on Soviet television, showcasing interactions between Americans and Soviets.